Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome to Ice is Slippery, an unserious podcast about hockey brought to you by 1.5 hockey fans. My name is Kate, and I'm the hockey fan.
And my name is Fred. I remain half a hockey fan.
How are we doing this morning, Fred?
We're good. How was this week? There was a bunch of hockey. I feel like I didn't watch much again.
Again, not unusual for you, particularly this early in the season. You kind of have to pace yourself.
Yeah, no, and I figured out I don't really enjoy the early part of the season. The storylines are too undeveloped for me at this point. They're too wide open. I like it when things get narrowed down a little bit towards playoffs. It's
true. Right now, it's just kind of like everyone's playing hockey. There's a lot of hockey going on. That's the main storyline.
Yeah. And people, the reporters jump on, oh, you lost a game, you're terrible. You're never going to make it to the Stanley Cup after 5 games.
Correct. It's there's a lot of catastrophizing.
That's a big word.
That is a big word. I get $1 for that one from the word committee. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it was a good week. We saw some good games. It didn't seem like much was going on news-wise.
There really wasn't. I mean, we're kind of talking about storylines. I feel like the big storylines have been who are the winningest teams, who are the losingest teams.
Right.
The Winnipeg Jets remain the winningest team as of last night.
Yep.
Saturday, they are still undefeated. And then the losingest teams have been, the Predators have started to win a few games, but their storyline has kind of been, we thought we'd be better.
Right.
And then we've had the Flyers, which were like, we thought they'd lose, but we thought maybe they wouldn't lose quite this bad. And those have been sort of, I guess, the prevailing narratives.
Yeah, which for me is a little boring, right? It's a little like rudimentary at this point.
But there's not much you can kind of keep going sustained with those stories.
Right, exactly.
You write it once and it's pretty much, that's the story. I will say there are some interesting things with Winnipeg that I haven't seen written up. Last year, right after the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup, they were interviewing Paul Maurice, and he was, deliriously happy as you are after you win the Stanley Cup, particularly for the first time in your career. I imagine. I don't know. I don't have any firsthand experience with this. But one of the things he said in his post-game interview was, I hope Winnipeg wins it next year.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think you probably know the whole story. I don't really know the whole story either, to be honest, but I know vaguely the story. He coached in Winnipeg for a long time. I want to say it was maybe 9 seasons.
Okay.
And he really struggled, especially during the COVID year, kind of didn't love the sport as much anymore, didn't feel like he was the right coach anymore, and kind of abruptly resigned in December of 2021. And as far as I know, was pretty much planning on bailing out of hockey entirely. He was just off fishing somewhere. And then Bill Zito, the GM from the Florida Panthers, was like, hey, I'm putting together this team. I think you should come here. And kept calling him. He kept not answering the phone because he was like, I fish now. This is what I do. I'm a fish person. And presumably, again, this is all wild speculation on my part. But Bill Zito convinced him to sort of talk to the guys in Florida, and, he kind of rediscovered his love for the game and went down there, and obviously, a few years later wins the Stanley Cup. And I think there were some complicated feelings from Winnipeg about his sort of very quick departure, especially the players who really liked him a lot and were, I think, kind of startled to see him leave. So right. I think a lot of people thought it was like a real class act for him to be like, hey, Winnipeg, it's your turn now.
Interesting. But he's still going to try and win it this year.
Obviously.
Right.
I mean, that's just who he is as a person and who his team are as people.
Well, right now their pace is they're at what? 82-0 pace right now.
Yes, they're on pace for 82-0.
Right.
Yes, they're currently at 8-0-0. So,
well, I mean, good for them. So this is, again, I think we talked about this, but Bonus is not coaching them this year, and the only reason I know Bonus is from when I started watching Dallas with you. He was their coach, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And then he moved to Winnipeg for a year, and now he retired, I guess.
I believe so. Yeah, I think his wife had some medical stuff happen, so he's retired.
So this new coach is crushing it.
Apparently, it seems like it. I don't know. We have not watched a Winnipeg game yet,
but
we will put that on our agenda. Again, it is hard to get you to sit down and watch any games of the teams we actually watch.
Right.
So I'm not holding my breath that I'm going to get you to watch a Winnipeg game with me anytime soon.
We'll
But
see.
We've got it on the list.
They'll play Dallas eventually.
I mean, there we go. There is that. So also we have no Dallas games this week until Friday.
Well, how about that?
So we're going to have to fill our time somehow.
Oh, right. I guess that doesn't mean we get a week off.
I mean, it probably means you get a week off. So the other big thing that was going on this week was the Frozen Frenzy. That is a thing that they do. This was the second year doing it, where it's on ESPN and all 32 of the teams play that night. This year they did it sort of staggered. So there was a new game starting every 10 or 15 minutes, I think. And they were just jumping around covering the games as they went. So you're kind of popping in and just seeing the highlights. It's not good.
It's not good. I mean, it's tough too when you're not watching that and you're trying to watch a game and like it's over like on a different channel.
Right. The problem is, we have games that we like to watch. So we obviously want to watch the Stars game. The Flyers were also playing. I mean, everyone was playing. So
right.
I don't want to just see the highlights of the Stars game. I want to see the whole Stars game. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Although I probably would have been better off not watching the Stars game that night, but that's a story for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of confusing watching the Frozen Frenzy because you end up dipping in and out of the action so much. And there are so many games going on. And also they're doing stuff in the studio. PK Subban is tripping over, carrying cups of coffee, and then they're making chicken parmesan. And it's kind of a clown show.
I mean, once those guys are on television, the clown show generally starts.
It is true.
I feel like they've leaned into that maybe a little too much. And unfortunately, Hank gets brought along for the ride sometimes.
He's on TNT, so he was not part of the clown show, fortunately for him.
Well, that's good. But that's also a clown show over there on TNT.
Oh, that's a clown show for entirely different reasons,
right.
Which we can also touch on.
Yeah. No, it is. It's very... It's very jarring to watch that many games with the way that they jump from highlight to highlight. It's like watching Sports Center like nonstop with all the hockey highlights all at once. So it's hard to keep track of what's going on and why it's important.
Yeah, it's contemporaneous Sports Center. It's like real-time Sports Center.
Right.
And I'm like, I just want to watch the games. Like, can I just watch the games?
Right.
And then maybe watch Sports Center afterwards when you've had time to actually sort of cull through the highlights and contextualize them for me and you're not just throwing them at me all willy-nilly.
Right.
So
I feel like it's okay maybe or good for newer fans to kind of get a taste of things, but also it's so chaotic it might turn them off.
Well, also, the newer fans won't know that it's happening or even a thing. First of all, they scheduled it on the same night as, I guess, the NBA opening something or other.
Oh.
I don't know what it was, but I know people were talking about it. I only have room in my brain for hockey. There's no room for other sports.
Right.
But also, nobody saw it advertised anywhere else. I mean, I was seeing plenty of people on Reddit and the hockey and NHL subreddits going, wait, what's the Frozen Frenzy? Like literally the day of the Frozen Frenzy. And these are people who watch hockey and they did not see any of the advertising. That's how little it was advertised.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. And it definitely started some conversations online about the efficacy or lack thereof of the NHL's marketing department, which we've touched on a little bit. I think we won't touch on that right now because there are only so many hours in the day.
It's a lot to get into, but we should talk about marketing at some point from the NHL down to the teams, down to the players.
Yes, and how it's all sort of interacting or entwined. Or should be or could be.
Yeah.
And maybe the part of why it's so disjointed is because it's so decentralized. But again, topic for another day.
Yeah. There's a lot to get into.
But to be positive, we did see some maybe positive signs of NHL marketing last night.
We did, yeah. On YouTube, right? Or where, yeah,
yes.
YouTube. I'm sure they maybe put the same things on like TikTok or Instagram, but they're short form content.
Exactly. We were on the NHL YouTube channel, and in the shorts, they had a few different things. One of them even featured a Dallas Star of all people.
Amazing.
I know. It was shocking. We'll get into that one later. But yeah, these were just little short clips of things that happened last night. So very timely, which is nice because they are not always good with the timely content.
They seem to be getting better with that. Those highlights are going up 12 minutes after a game now.
Yeah, no,
So
that's really great. Not waiting until the next day on those. So there were a lot of little individual clips of things that went up. My favorite one was titled, "This perfectly encapsulates Matthew Tkachuk." And it's just an overhead shot of the goal. The Panthers played the Islanders last night. Islanders goalie Varlamov is in the goal. Matthew Tkachuk kind of skates into the frame, crashes into Varlamov a little bit. Might have been knocked into him, don't know. Varlamov's stick goes into Matty Tkachuk's midsection. Tkachuk takes it with him. Drops it behind the goalie net, so Varlamov cannot get the stick. Tkachuk skates back around the other side of the net, shoves Varlamov in the shoulder, and then a few seconds later shovels the puck over the line and scores a goal.
right.
So it's just a masterclass in being a huge pest and pain in the ass from Matthew Tkachuk, which is his specialty, really.
Yeah, and kudos to the NHL short form content editors, people, whatever that job is, but for recognizing that and labeling it as such. Like, I feel like that's a clip you could send to your grandmother if she was like, "Who's this Matthew Tkachuk?"
Yes, exactly. It's very emblematic of him and who he is as a player. Now, would I like that clip if it were against Jake Ottinger? Probably not.
You'd call goaltender interference.
I would call goaltender interference. Is it absolutely hilarious when it's not happening to my goalie? Absolutely.
You love it.
It's great. It's, he is that guy. That's what he does. And it's really nice to see not only him doing it, but him doing it, the NHL recognizing it really quickly and putting it up in a nice little package like that. And it's just like, hey, here's that pest you guys all know and love/loathe. So I thought it was really hilarious. I would like more of this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Please, NHL, just let the young people do your marketing.
Pretty much.
I'm
yeah.
not talking about like me, because I'm not young anymore.
Right.
I'm still younger than you are, but I mean the young people.
The young people.
Yeah.
The people that understand that form of content and what's funny and what plays on the internet well.
Yes, exactly. The internet has changed drastically since our youth.
Yeah.
I can't really keep up with it anymore, but I know it's changed, and so we need to change with it.
Absolutely. When they're doing it, it's funny.
They are, yeah. So let the kids cook. Come on, give them the reins and let them do the stuff because they know what they're doing. I guess that's really it for the NHL right now.
For the NHL right now, we were just mentioning YouTube. I did want to just mention that we do watch a lot of YouTube hockey content, but we limit our sources. So, like, we're only watching 3 hockey YouTubers. And I feel like that gives us a good picture of the NHL and also gives us all like the fun stuff.
Yes, exactly. I think we don't want to overexpose ourselves to things because then it's just too easy to get inundated.
Yeah. We had like, I don't know, we tried like 5 or 6 and we've landed on 3. So we have Jonathan Hockey, Next Man Up, and Hockey Psychology.
Yeah, and they're all great for really different reasons. You can kind of get, like with Hockey Psychology, you get more deep dives.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Hockey with more of the game recaps that kind of cover the storylines of the game. And I feel like Next Man Up's got a lot more of the fun content sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting kind of the roundups of the funniest and most interesting things that happened in the NHL over the course of the week, along with some other sort of game recaps and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get a little bit of everything. They're all great. I really like watching them all for different reasons. So yeah, definitely like those. Now we can turn our attention to the Stars.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So like I mentioned, the Stars did play on the night of the Frozen Frenzy. It was not our best showing. We played against the Buffalo Sabres and we lost 4-2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was our second loss of the season.
Yeah, that was rough, huh?
It was. There's always a lot of talk about the Stars, or at least in the Star subreddit. There's always a lot of talk about how we tend to play to the level of the teams that we're facing. So, there's no such thing as like an easy win for us because when we play teams that are maybe not as good, we tend to play at a lower level. When we play really good teams, we tend to step up our game. And it does feel that way sometimes. And from the get-go, this game felt really slow, really sort of disjointed and choppy. The passes weren't connecting. It almost felt like we were anticipating that they were coming at a certain level of play, and that's the level of play we showed up to do.
Didn't take it seriously or just thought it would be easy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. Like, I'm sure that wasn't it, but that's what it felt like. It just, we were not clicking. Things were not working. First half of the game, Jake had some great saves. There were some really good defensive plays. Harley managed to keep a puck out of the goal, like a really, really good one. Lindell made some really good plays. But halfway through the second, Buffalo started scoring and just didn't really stop. So by partway through the third period, Buffalo was up 3-0.
Yeah.
Which is not really how you want to get into a game.
No, that's not a good way to start.
Yeah. We did do something I thought pretty out of character for us. And that was with 6 minutes left to go, we pulled the goalie.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty...
That's bold.
That's very bold for the Stars. I feel like we have been quite conservative the last few years. And that's some real, like, Patrick Wash it right there.
Right? Yeah, that's 6 minutes. That's...
Yeah. So it ended up actually working out pretty well for us for a little bit. We dug pretty deep. We were essentially on, I guess, what I'll call a 6-on-5 power play. But we scored 2 goals that way, one from Harley and one from Sagan. Speaking of the power play, I think that was the game where it really reached critical mass, that our power plays has not been looking good.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of discontent over the power play.
Yes, people have been freaking out, and I think that's when it really reached sort of the next level. We had 3 power play opportunities, didn't capitalize on any of them, and that could have really been a literal game changer for us. So
yeah, I remember watching a couple of those power plays and commenting, why don't they move? Why are they just standing there and passing the puck back and forth? Shouldn't somebody be in motion? And like, it seemed like if they just stood still, Buffalo would have just stood still too, and the game would have just run out of time eventually, or the power play would have run out of time eventually.
Yeah, they were very much stuck on the perimeter. Nobody was really trying to drive up the middle. It didn't feel like. It just felt very cautious.
And maybe like they were trying to force a play rather than let a play develop or happen.
Yeah, that's kind of an ongoing thing, I feel like, with them. I feel like maybe is kind of the thing with all of the missed passes that were going on earlier. It felt like they were trying to do all of these passing sequences that they do in practice that work fine because they don't have defenders. But now they have defenders, and it's a little different. And so it gets busted up. But instead of adjusting in the moment, they are still just sticking to the play.
Yep.
Is my completely uneducated opinion.
Yeah, we should
we should clarify that we know nothing here.
Absolutely. I was going to say too, like, my takeaway from that game before like the realization came that Dallas was playing down to a level was that the Sabres were looking pretty good.
Yes. We have that tendency to bring out the best in opposing teams.
Yep.
For instance, that goalie was looking great.
Yeah, right.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yep.
Which Razor, our announcer, loves that name. So yeah, we made Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen look really great, which we tend to do a lot. And honestly, it was probably my fault because I had him on one of my fantasy teams and then I dropped him. So obviously he was going to play a really great game.
Well, you can send an apology letter to the Stars later.
Yes, I will get right on that. We did go on to play the Bruins 2 days later on Thursday. And I guess we decided to fix our power play in those 2 days. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, right. They got a talking to.
Yes. So we kind of made a bold move. We played our backup goalie in that game. We really have relied on Jake Ottinger a lot the last couple of years, and it really looks like this year they're going to try and rest him more. So that's really promising. It did feel like kind of, why didn't we do that against the Sabres? But oh well.
Right.
So, things are confusing, but I don't get paid to make those decisions. So we had our backup goalie in, and then, we broke our power play curse. So by the end of the first period, we were tied 1-1. We had goals from Pastrnak and Duchesne in the first period. And then the second period, we came in cooking, and we scored 3 power play goals.
Right.
Yeah.
That's demoralizing.
Yes.
For the other team.
Yes.
Not for the Stars.
Yes. It's moralizing. Is that the opposite of demoralizing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Jason Robertson kicked it off, and then Logan Stankoven had a power play goal, which was his first goal of the season.
That's awesome.
He has been crushing it on assists, has been in the middle of every play, and has been just generally looking like a beast. So it was really nice to see that finally translate into a goal for him.
Yeah, and he's a national conversation at this point.
Oh, absolutely. He's in the, top 3 talks for the Calder, which again is so early for these talks, but this is what they have. Like,
Right.
there's
They've got
nothing
nothing
else
else
to talk about.
Right.
And then Tyler Seguin had a power play goal as well. The Bruins would score again, but then Rope Hintz would put the final dagger in it with the empty net goal, and the final score ended up being 5-2 Stars. So the big story here behind the power play being so dominant is the performance by the throuple line, which is Matt Duchene, Tyler Seguin, and Mason Marchment.
Yeah.
I call them that because they just have intense chemistry together. They have since last year when Matt Duchene joined the team. They have undeniable results. They were our top producing line last year and have continued to really be strong this year.
Yeah, they look like they're clicking even more than at the end of last year. Like that was their honeymoon phase, and now they've really kind of settled into the married life.
Exactly. It's when you've been married so long, you don't even really have to talk out loud. It's almost like a telepathic kind of communication.
Exactly.
They've kind of reached that point. So in that game, the throuple line had a hand or several hands in almost every goal. Seguin had an assist on Duchene's goal, and Harley did as well. Duchene and Marchment both had assists on Seguin's goal, as well as Logan Stankoven's goal. Seguin had the assist on Rope's empty net goal. So the only goal without throuple influence was Robo's goal, which was assisted by Jamie Benn and Miro Heiskanen.
There we go.
So yeah, those guys are in it. They're mixing it up. They're making it happen.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
That's the line to do it. Right now, at least.
That's the one that you want to count on. And we always have a good time playing Boston because nobody is more dramatic and grudge holding than hockey fans.
Right.
Tyler Seguin briefly played with the Bruins at the start of his career, won a Stanley Cup with them, and then they kind of unceremoniously traded him to us. And we love him. So obviously the response whenever we play the Bruins is to be like, fuck you for getting rid of this guy that we love, even though we benefited.
Right.
But that's just who we are as people. We're very petty about it. So for the last, 11 years or however long since we've had Tyler Seguin, we all hate Boston whenever we play them because, presumably they hurt his feelings. We don't know. It's probably just business to him. But,
right, yeah.
But we don't like it, and that's not okay. So,
gotcha. Yep.
Yes. We did get a great post-game interview out of Tyler.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. So he was already feeling his oats coming into the post-game interview, probably feeling extra sassy because of his goal and his 2 assists.
Right.
He opened the interview by making a dig at Buffalo. They were asking sort of what it was like to do better this game. And he said it was nice to bounce back against a better team, referring to the Bruins as the better team over Buffalo.
It was cold.
Ice cold. And just like really in passing, I had to go back so you could
Yeah, I did not pick it up.
Yes.
That was shade that went over my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the shade does go over your head. That's why I love you.
Yep.
Then Razor asked to what they could attribute the explosion of the power play. Tyler said probably Twitter, honestly. And then he talked about there was one particular tweet that was circulating all last week. What I don't think you know is that tweet was from Brian Ray.
Oh, interesting. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Brian Ray tweeted that both last year and this year, through the first 7 games of the season, Dallas was 2 for 21 on the power play, which is a 9.5% success rate. And we were ranked 30th in the league, both this year and this time last year, again, through 7 games. But he did point out that last season, the Stars finished with a 24.2% power play rate, and that was the 6th best in the league. So I think he was trying to be supportive, but
it fired him up, I guess.
It fired them up, perhaps.
They're like, that's a terrible stat. We need to stop that.
Yes. Yeah, we don't like that stat. So no, Brian was, when they cut back to him, he was like, okay, I made that tweet, but there were reasons behind it. So he was like, I'm a stats nerd. I'm sorry. So it was very cute because Brian Ray, for people who don't know, is one of our sort of in-house reporter commentator guys.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. And then the best part was at the end of the interview, Josh brought up the fact that we are always bringing up Boston and, how satisfying is it to score against Boston and win against them? And, he's got to ask the same question again. How does it feel? And Tyler just smirked and took off his headset and walked away. And Josh and Razor just cracked up. They thought it was great.
Yeah, he gave like a little wink and a nod kind of vibe and just took his headset off. Very, very cute worth watching if you can track it down.
Absolutely. Just very mischievous. Just strolled off to go talk to Riley Tooft, who's a player from another team, and Jake Ottinger, who I believe knows Riley. So it was great. Really cute, funny moment. Always glad to see one of our guys showing personality on the camera. I'll take that any day of the week.
It's easier to expect personality from Sagan doing an interview than anyone else.
100%. And I think just as he's gotten older, he's just so much more relaxed about it. Like, I just don't think he really cares that much anymore.
Yeah, totally. I will say I find myself generally uninterested in Boston and watching them play. I don't think I focused on any of them at any point in time other than Swayman. And when it comes to Swayman getting beat so bad, doesn't bother me. That's his own business. I still wish him success.
All right. That's good to know. I was afraid we were going to become a house divided because, being as he's sort of your spiritual guru.
Yeah.
I thought perhaps we would be split, but yeah.
No, that's up to him. I mean, if he wants to stop those pucks, he should probably do that. And he didn't. So that's on him.
He was being slightly ridiculous that game. There was at one point he got really mad at the refs for not whistling down a play when he had not covered the puck.
Yeah, no, he's a little prima donna-y.
A little bit. He's kind of a diva.
Yeah.
It's funny though.
I'm good with it.
It's fine. Be a diva.
I feel like everyone on that team's got their own little personality trait that'll get under someone else's skin.
Yes, exactly.
It's very Boston.
It is.
I grew up in that general area, and it makes sense.
It totally does. So moving on to last night, played Chicago. And again, we had another win, 4-2. Halfway through the first, Esa Lindell lobbed a puck down, which allowed Dodonov to get it to the back of the net. Really pretty play.
I enjoyed that goal.
Yeah.
I like it when Dodonov does well.
I think people sleep on him a little bit. I see people online talking about how he doesn't contribute, and I think he does. I think it's just, you don't see it reflected on a stat sheet as much, but he's a scrambler. He's always trying to make things happen.
Yeah, and he showed up last year with Domi, right, for playoffs?
Year before last.
Wow, it was that long ago?
Mm-hmm. Year before last.
Right.
We brought him in, trade line with Domi, and then we kept him, let Domi go. But so he was around all last year, but he was injured for a big stretch of it, so we didn't see him as much.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's nice to see him back again. Then moving on to the second period, Jamie Benn showed off what an impressive athlete he is. He got a pass from, I think it was Marchment, which went up basically to his shoulder. He caught the puck with his right shoulder.
Yep.
Kind of juggled it around a little bit, bumped it forward so it was in the air, and then bunted it with his stick right into the back of the net.
It was an impressive feat of athleticism.
Yes. Yeah. Jamie is a well-rounded athlete. He played baseball through high school, maybe even like past high school. I think it was pretty deep into high school and could have gone into professional baseball or professional hockey. And he basically had to pick one and focus on that. He chose hockey, but he has not lost any of those baseball skills.
Yeah, no, he's a beast. And also, he probably has some pretty good hacky sack skills based on the way he hit that with his shoulder down to batting height.
For sure. They even showed some clips of him doing some batting with, I think, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like an MLB park.
Right. Just casually.
Like grandstand.
Just like for funsies.
Yeah.
The dude is crazy.
I guess it wasn't out of the park. I'm not a baseball person. It went into the stands.
It did go into the stands.
Yeah.
It wasn't fully out of the park.
Yeah.
But I mean, still really sick. And, I kind of make fun of him for being old by hockey standards. But I mean, the dude can ball and it doesn't really matter what sport. And it's great. And I love that for him.
Yeah.
And that was actually the clip that made it to the NHL Shorts thing. It was called Heaven Bent. And it was just that clip of him doing all of that impressive work and kind of with like a golden filter and angel music playing.
Yeah. They nailed it.
It was so good. It was so good.
As soon as I saw that goal, I was like, holy shit, did you see what he just did? It blew my mind.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not the first time I've seen him do something like that. Maybe with the shoulder and the tap in combo, but I've seen him swat pucks out of the air like that, baseball style.
Yeah. And it was intentional too. That was the other thing that blew me away. I didn't watch it and say, oh, it bounced off his shoulder. Like, no, he tried to do that.
Yeah. Even rewatching it this morning, it felt like the pass to the shoulder. It didn't feel like it was off. It felt like something maybe they had worked on.
Yeah.
It was completely bonkers.
Yeah, like when they get tired of like tipping practice, they're like, all right, shoot it at my shoulder and I'm going to try and like soccer. I'll like bump it off my head and put it in the, like they'll just try weird things maybe because it did seem rehearsed almost.
It was great. I loved it. Thought it was fantastic. And then halfway through the third, Duchesne would also score a really cool goal, kind of from an impossible angle after a really cool passing sequence. He was kind of way down out to the right, almost parallel to the goal, I want to say.
Yeah, it was kind of the Draisaitl area, but maybe a little lower.
Yeah, exactly. It was when Draisaitl does those ones where it's like real crazy.
Yep.
It was kind of in that neighborhood. Not quite the intensity of a Draisaitl one, but definitely that sort of complexity where you're just like, how did he do that? Like, how did that go in? And that came off of a really cool series of passes, including one where Tyler Seguin kind of got it in the middle and there were a bunch of people on him and he kind of just tapped it back out to the point. It was really impressive. Mm-hmm. Everybody was just really vibing last night and clicking. So that puts us up 3-0 halfway through the third. So you'd think we're pretty comfortable, right?
Well, I mean...
Well, you wouldn't because you know.
I know how hockey goes. No, 3-0 doesn't mean anything in the first.
Exactly. Well, in the third.
Oh, in the third. We're already in the third?
Yeah, we're in the third.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, well, it doesn't mean anything in the third either.
It doesn't. You always say that the game doesn't start until there's about 8 minutes left in the third. So
yeah, if there was 3-0 with 8 minutes left, game still could go south.
Yeah, the game is just starting. It's just the score is -3 at that point.
Exactly. Got a little bit of a deficit you're working out of, but that's it.
Exactly. Well, about a minute after that Duchesne goal, Chicago scored with a goal that really proved to us once again that we don't know what the fuck goalie interference is, and we maybe never will.
Oh, this was the push Otter out of the way.
Yeah, there was just kind of a big pile up on and around Otter, and there was a stick that pushed. It really looked like it pushed his leg into the goal.
Yes, right.
And like the puck was under his leg and it pushed his leg into the goal, which moved the puck into the goal. But that wasn't goaltender interference.
Yeah, and I'm not a rules expert or a rules amateur. Ottinger didn't have control of the puck. Dumbo was holding it against his pad. So that seems like maybe you could poke the goaltender, I guess. But, you know, whoever it was that scored that goal came in and put his stick on Dumbo's stick and just pushed that through. It seemed to knock Jake out of the way. So I don't know.
Whatever went on, the Stars didn't feel like they could challenge it, I guess, because again, it's just such a crapshoot. You never know how it's going to come down ruling wise.
And some of the officiating had already been, I mean, every game's questionable, but it felt like
extra iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can kind of see why they wouldn't challenge it. I maybe would have, but then again, you don't want to challenge it and then have to go on the penalty kill.
Not against the Bedards.
Not against the Bedards. Speaking of the Bedards, 5 minutes later, Connor Bedard did some Connor Bedard things and scored a really sick goal.
It was, I mean, you saw my reaction to it. I was like, holy shit, that was a nice looking goal. My God, that kid is good.
Yeah, you haven't necessarily seen him in action too much because he did miss a good chunk of last season with an injury. So I think you didn't really get to see him against the Stars so much.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's Fred's goal of the game, if that was a thing that we did.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that.
It was just so smooth and clean and nice. And
I'm still giving it to Jamie Benn.
Yeah, I got a good sense of the caliber of player there. And, you know, I feel like maybe if I was involved in McDavid's career back when he was at that age or level in the NHL, I would have been just as excited and followed him along. It's not going to make me a Bedard fan or seek out the Hawks games, but they got something there that will be important in the future, I think, as everyone knows.
Yeah, that's, you know, they're ones to watch because of him specifically. Chicago did pull the goalie, but in the waning seconds, Dumba absolutely bodied some guy, which freed up Seguin to get the puck. And him and Duchesne did this weird mind meld thing where Duchesne passed the puck to Segi and then Seguin passed it up to Duchesne, not to where he was, but to where he would be at precisely the point where he evaded the defenseman and the defenseman fell down. And then Duchesne put it in on the empty net. And it was just like the throuple had reached telepathic status at that point.
Yeah, that goal, the timing of it really made you appreciate probably like their golfing skills and their ability to like golf like with moving objects. obviously with pucks, but very impressive.
But just the anticipation of being able to put the puck not where he was, but where he was going to be, and just to do that in a split second. And I do think Dumbo was crucial in that because he just put some giant dude on the ground, which really cleared up Sagan to do whatever he wanted to do. So, it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed. Definitely came away with my impression of the Bedards being a really goofy, clumsy-looking team, but one that you have to watch out for and not get sucked into that goofiness, not let that unfocused and wild style of play, which I don't think is on purpose, break down what it is you do, because they have skilled players on their team and they will screw you over if you start sleeping on them.
And they have acquired more skilled players since last year. Last year, they were essentially an AHL team.
Yeah.
So this year, they're bringing more people in. It's still going to be a couple of years out for anything really solid to be going on there, but they are making incremental improvements. So good for them. Whatevs.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to your team, the Flyers, now.
Okay.
So they have had a rough start to their season. I don't think we really need to belabor that. They won their road opener and then they went on to lose 6 games.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to pick a game that they lost to talk about. But
so let's just not.
There we go.
Yeah. Luckily, they won their game yesterday. So let's just focus on that one because that one was a really great game.
Sure.
But kind of regardless of them winning, but especially because they won. So Coach John Tortorella has been experimenting with the lines a lot, much to people's sort of dismay because they're like, how will we know if it's going to stick? Well, I guess yesterday it stuck. He settled down with TK, Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier, and Matvei Michkov on a line, and it paid off. Both teams traded goals back and forth, but the Flyers eventually would take the game at 7-5 over the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, what a game. High scoring.
Very high scoring, lots of goals. So I'm not going to really talk about the Wild goals too much because there are 7 Flyers goals to cover.
There we go.
There's a lot of goals. So the first one came from Couturier, Sean Couturier, the captain.
Yeah.
And it was also his 500th point.
Nice.
In the NHL. So a very monumental one and in front of a home crowd, which was really nice.
Yeah.
For the second goal, Nick Seeler sniped one in off of a really nice pass from TK. For the third one, it was Michkov. It was his first goal that he has scored at home. He has scored some on the road, but he hadn't scored any at home yet. And that one was really fun to watch because on the replay, he just hits it straight through like every Minnesota player and they just watch it go past them. Yeah. One of them actually flinched when it went by him. It was just a bomb.
I haven't really developed a relationship with him yet or like kind of understand him, but that goal I feel like was explaining a lot of what the Flyers commentators were saying, where he doesn't have the same boots that some of the fast guys have, which I think is a cool way to say he's not the greatest skater or he's a little slower, he's a little different.
Yeah.
And you got a sense of that when he's up at the top. Coming around, it looks like his skates aren't tied tight enough. His legs are a little like, splayed out, but it doesn't seem to matter because he just saw that lane and just immediately crushed it.
It's almost like he's a magnet. It's almost like he created that lane because it's like he skated out and everyone sort of turned with him.
Right.
And then it's like he saw this space that could open if he pulled people in a certain way and he did it somehow. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was just really, really cool to watch.
I think that's the hockey IQ thing that you mentioned people talking about.
Yes.
Right? Like he just seemed to understand something and got it past everybody. And he was so happy too. And I loved his celebration. And I can understand why he's also in the national conversation.
Honestly, I feel super spoiled this year. My 2 favorite teams have awesome rookies that are sort of neck and neck for the Calder conversation right now.
Well, I mean, Stankoven's not a rookie. He played last year.
Okay. That's another conversation we could have. That one I've written down in my notes for also a future episode.
Absolutely,
perhaps.
Yeah. He's a rookie. I get it.
Yes, he's technically a rookie, but some people have issues with that. Sure. And we can talk about that at some point. So the fourth goal was Travis Konechny after a really wild angled rebound. He really dove for it and he was so off balance that, he landed on his feet, but then he almost went over backwards when he stood up to celebrate the goal. So that was really funny. Then number 5 was Couturier again on a really tough net front scramble. Then number 6 was a similar goal, but that one was Ristolainen.
Okay.
And then number 7, empty net goal for Couturier for the hat trick.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it was only his 3rd career hat trick.
Nice.
And he also had 5 points that game. It was the first time he's ever had 5 points in a game.
Well, good for
So
him.
huge milestone game for Couturier.
Yeah.
On home ice.
Right.
After a couple tough years, with injuries and everything. And yeah, so I think that Couturier, Konechny, Michkov line is cooking.
They've certainly figured out the lines there.
Or at least that line.
Or at least, yeah.
I don't know about the rest of them.
Let's start with one line, right? No, it was great to see that. And then I watched his, we both watched his post-game interview. I don't know too much about him, or really the Flyers in general, like who the players are, other than some of the big names. I guess he is a big name, but I do remember him being benched last year with the C on his chest getting benched, and what a hot topic that was.
Yes.
It seems like he understands why he gets benched. And the thing I like in his interview where, they're asking about, I guess he was put back on center.
Yes, they had him playing left wing last game, which is not a position I think he's ever played.
Right. And him just really knowing his role as center and what they're looking for from him. And how he's there to support the other guys, and he's just going to do what it is the team wants him to do, regardless of where he is. So he just seemed like a great guy, which I think everyone was reiterating what a nice, great dude he is.
Yeah, he just basically said his job was to get up to the front of the net because he knew TK and Meech were going to get him the puck and they were going to make things happen. And it was just his job to get in there and get it home. And he sure did. And they sure did.
Yeah, no, really, really good for him.
And really, I think Michkov, part of why he's been so fun to watch, you mentioned that he is not the fast skater that people maybe were expecting. And that's the thing we've heard all the Flyers commentators talking about. I kind of like that about him. He feels like he fits into Philly in this way because he doesn't have that, he has a great hockey IQ, undeniably. Like he sees things on the ice that other people don't see. But I don't think he's like a Connor McDavid. Like in that Face Off Amazon Prime series when Connor McDavid was talking about how he really likes skating fast. And like when he is skating fast, he feels like that's like where everything is like at the right speed kind of.
Right.
That's not Michkov. Like Michkov, everything's at the right speed when it's just at like the regular speed.
Yeah.
So he's gonna see the play and he's not gonna then like turn on the jets and dart up through like 4 defensemen and do like a fancy turn and get it into the net. He's just gonna like barrel his way through it. Like he's gonna bulldoze, and that just feels so right for Philly hockey. Philly has that reputation as just being sort of,
would you say, gritty?
Yes. Philly has a gritty reputation. And, you want your skills guys to still kind of have that grit and that determination.
Which I feel like they do.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
TK, I think, is quite skilled, and he will also fight anyone and everyone up to and including his own shadow. So,
right.
Why not just really embrace that and have your super good skill guy also just be like a complete bulldog? Like, it's great.
It was a fun game to watch, and I'm glad they finally were successful. It certainly was like a stressful game to watch because of the back and forth scoring, but they came out on top.
Oh, yeah. No, they traded leads back and forth. It was just like goal for you, goal for me, just back and forth, back and forth. And the Wild have been having a great season. They came into that game 5-0-2. So they had not had a regulation loss. They've been doing very well. So this was not an easy win by any stretch of the imagination. And they really turned on the offense. Urson did really well. And rumor has it that Kolosov will be playing the next game. So no Fedotov. They're going to bring up Kolosov from the AHL. So
yeah, that might be a good decision.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. So I'll be watching that with interest. All right. Well, we've talked about our teams. Let's again go back to the Frozen Frenzy.
Okay.
So when we were watching the Frozen Frenzy, you had some opinions about PK Subban.
Well, I've had opinions about him ever since I first met him.
Right. And by met, we mean saw on TV.
Yeah, I was like, who's this guy? He's loud and obnoxious. I think that was my first takeaway.
Yes.
We saw some of his older highlights on YouTube. And he seemed kind of fun, and I can see why people are like, oh, no, he's kind of awesome. I don't know how well that translates to hosting things, but no, he's definitely grown on me. I still don't like him, but I feel like if I was going to have a party, I would invite him because he would be fun, and he would create a point of interest at my party.
Yeah, I could definitely see him really sort of bringing the party with him, actually.
Right.
So
I would have to do less as a host because I invited him.
Yeah, that completely checks out for me. So that makes sense. No, we sort of talked about that a little bit. And then we kind of switched topics to another former NHL player who also has gotten into the commentating game, Paul Bissonnette, also known as Biz. But in our house, we call him Cheesecake Factory.
Yes.
That's because the first time Fred ever saw him, he was just kind of standing up in the room watching TV, as he does, like most older men.
Is that, yeah, that's an old man thing to do.
Yeah,
I
think that's once you hit your 40s, you just wander into the living room and then you stand there with your hands on your hips or your arms crossed and watch the TV that somebody else is watching.
Guilty as charged.
Yes, exactly. So he watched the TV standing up for a while, and then he said something along the lines of, that guy looks like he valet parks his car at the Cheesecake Factory to impress his date. And from that day on, Paul Bissonnette has been known as Cheesecake Factory.
He still seems that way to me.
Yeah, no, I literally, when I look at him, I'm like, oh, that's Cheesecake Factory. That's his name. So it's perfect. So we were talking about that. Now, here I would not invite to my party.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I feel like he would drink all of the Kahlua.
He would. He'd be too much.
Just too much to handle. So then I started thinking, okay, if we were going to have a party, who from the world of the NHL would we invite? So I made a little list. I tried to include names of people that we haven't talked about before. So a lot of them are players, but there are also a couple of coaches in there to mix it up a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of choose some names at random, and we can talk about whether or not we would invite these guys to our party.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's start with John Tortorella.
Oh, my favorite guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's really a big part of the reason why you became a Flyers fan.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. So Tortorella, if I'm having a party, I'm going to invite him to show him, the respect and appreciation I have for him, but we'll both know that he's not going to show up, and we're both fine with it. It's just really a courtesy.
I think that's a very fair comparison. I feel like I would invite him to my party, and if it was like a dinner party, I feel like he would show up, and I feel like he'd have a great time because I can pull off a dinner party. I feel like it really comes down to the kind of party, though. If it's like a costume party, no, he's not going to come.
No, that's silly. That's a waste of his time.
It's a waste of his time. So would it be kind of funny to invite him to a costume party anyway to make him mad? Yes. So I guess the point is I'm always inviting him to the party no matter what kind of party it is. I don't think he's always going to come. And if he does come, I don't think he's always going to have a good time, but I'm always going to invite him because it entertains me. And at the end of the day, that's what I care about.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I'm entertained.
I like it.
All right. Let's go on to, we've already talked about him today. Let's go on to Connor Bedard.
Bedard. So what was your...
I said no. I think he's very young. I don't think he's maybe very interesting. I just don't think we have anything in common. So
yeah. So for Bedard, I would put out feelers. I wouldn't do a direct invite, but I'd see what the vibes were. Like, hey, you like to go to parties? You like, eating food, and I don't know how I would do that, but I would test the waters. And I think I probably would not invite him because I just feel like he would be a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ready yet.
Yeah, I could see that. Also, I don't know. We're in our 40s. I just think we're too old to be hanging out with these young kids.
Yeah. But if I tested the waters and he was like, hell yeah, let's go. I fucking love to party. I'd be like, all right, well, I guess he can come. I don't have a problem with him coming, but I wouldn't do a direct invite right up front.
I feel like you and I probably define parties very differently, though. Like,
yeah.
I mean, my parties are probably like pretty chill.
Oh, yeah. We're playing beer pong, I think.
Yeah. See, I don't drink really.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different vibe. I think it really comes down to the kind of party. But again, I don't think no matter what kind of party it is, I don't think me and Connor Bedard are going to vibe.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's going to make it to my party either, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with Brady Tkachuk.
Brady Tkachuk. Well, I don't think I would invite him if his brother wasn't coming. I feel like if Matthew was there, I'd be like, yeah, you can come along. That's fine. I had originally thought I would invite him because I was pretty sure he would know how to tap a keg. But again, a lot of these guys probably know how to tap kegs. So he's not going to get the invite from me.
It's funny. We kind of had similar but different reasoning. I am not going to invite him because I'm only going to have one Tkachuk at my party because too many Tkachuks is a recipe for disaster. And if I'm inviting a Tkachuk, it's Matthew. So,
fair enough. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So sorry, Brady. I like your brother better.
Yeah.
I'm sure you care a lot. All right, let's go on to Jamie Drysdale.
Oh, Jamie Drysdale. Yeah. I would invite him for sure. And like it's hard to deny my love for him. He needs a little help, he needs a little work, but I'm in for the long haul with him. And with him, I would find out what he likes to drink and what he likes to eat, and I would make sure that that was there and that he felt comfortable.
You want to like mentor him, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. I just wanted him to feel comfortable at the party, but maybe I do want to be a mentor.
Yeah, I think again, he kind of falls into my too young thing but with him, I feel more like I wouldn't want to invite him because he's a very nice, polite young man. And I feel like I would constantly find him in the kitchen doing dishes and I would have to keep chasing him out. And I would just be worried about him having a good time. So
yeah, I'm worried about him having a good time. I would want to exactly.
I think it would be too stressful for all of us. I think it'd be too stressful for him and me and you and all of us.
Well, I'm not going to be able to mentor him if he doesn't show up. So he's getting the invite over on my side.
All right. Well, no, I'm still not inviting him. Right. I can't hang with these young kids, I don't think.
Fair enough.
All right. Chris Tanev.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get the invite, right?
Of course. Again, comes down to the kind of party, maybe. Like if it's a book club, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to say yes. I feel like he might not show up, but I feel like he'll cancel with well enough time in advance and it'll be nice and amicable.
And he'll maybe like send a nice like fruit basket.
He'll send something. Yeah. He'll be like, I'll question if he was ever really going to come, but I won't be mad that he doesn't.
Yeah.
That's all I got on him.
Same. All right. Let's go for Marc-Andre Fleury.
So I'm guessing you said yes.
I had complicated feelings, but it was an ultimate yes.
Really?
Yes.
Where did the complications come from?
I don't like pranks. I'm very afraid of getting pranked. But I do think he is one of the kind of pranksters who he won't mess with you if you don't mess with him. And he will maybe gauge his pranks to the right audience. So
sure.
Maybe he'd show up dressed as a cater waiter or something, which would be funny.
Like he did on the ice.
Right,
crew.
exactly. So that would be fine. I just don't want to wake up and we don't have tires on the car in the morning. That just seems exhausting.
Yeah.
But I think generally he's pretty funny and I think he would be well behaved in these circumstances. I don't think he would mess with us like he would the hockey guys. So we'd probably be safe. And he's just so funny and great. So yeah, I would invite him.
All right. Well, I don't have a strong opinion on pranks, so I would invite him. I'd also give him the guest list ahead of time. So in case he was interested in any shenanigans, he could do so. So I think we definitely have a different opinion on pranks. I don't like them either, but
you
if
just
he's
don't
coming,
like them when they're directed at you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to give him the guest list. If he's got any kind of things, cooked up for other guests, that's his own business.
Well, okay, I like that. That's maybe the right way to handle it. Just sort of distract him.
Right.
But then, he might be like, oh, I wasn't going to play any pranks, but if he wants pranks, I'll give him a prank.
There we go.
That could end up not going very well at all.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got Mark Stone.
Fuck that guy.
I just thought even if I did invite him, he wouldn't show up. So why bother?
Oh, man, I wouldn't even bother.
He'd be like, oh, no, my spleen hurts.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So
no, he's out for me.
Yeah. No.
I wouldn't even feel bad if he came up to me and was like, hey, man, you didn't invite me to your party. I'd be like, yeah, I didn't. And then I'd just walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be like, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nope, he's a no. Cale Makar.
Nah, he's not getting the invite.
I wrote down absolutely not next to his name.
I don't think he's going to be mad, though, because he'll probably be too tired from cutting the grass earlier or something.
I wrote down absolutely not because I know he would be judging our lawn.
We both went to the lawn place.
It's true, though. He really cares about lawn care, apparently, according to him.
And he's good at it.
And he's good at it. And he considers it a skill that he has.
Yeah. And people that consider lawn care a skill and a source of pride are very sus in my eyes.
They're just not the kind of people we need to hang out with.
They're not our people.
They're not our people.
Right.
I mean, I wear pajamas 24/7.
Yeah.
I definitely don't care about the lawn. All right. We've got a few more. Let's just kind of push through them.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
Sure.
All right. We've got, I'm not sure I'm saying this right, but Juraj Slavkovsky.
Oh, the guy from the Canadians.
Yes. Yeah. From
yeah.
Habs.
On my side, he's getting the invite. He also gets a +2 because I want him to feel comfortable and have guys that he can joke around and laugh with.
I like that.
Yep.
Yeah. +2. That sounds good.
Yeah, not a +1. He needs he needs a trio.
Yeah, I can see that. I actually would break my rule against inviting youngsters for him because we've been watching some of the behind the scenes Habs content and he's just really funny.
He is.
I'm pretty sure English is his third language and he's still funnier than I am. And I speak one language.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he's funny in not his native language, which is a challenge.
It's very challenging. It's challenging in your native language.
Right.
So, or for me.
Not for me.
Yes, you are a natural hilarious person.
That's me.
That's what they say about Fred.
Yep.
They say that Fred, he sure is hilarious.
That's what they say.
So yeah, I think I would break my rules on Slavkovsky because I think he'd hang. I think he's timeless.
I feel like he has a natural curiosity with life, and I feel like that's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of youngsters, I do have Matt Rempe on the list too.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was going to invite him or not.
So I'm not inviting him, but I am hiring him to babysit the kids.
Interesting.
Because remember when we used to go to parties at your old employer's house and they were very fancy people and they had a babysitter for the kids?
Right.
I think Matt Rempe is that guy because there's that video of him going around very gamely learning the hot to go dance on the streets of New York.
Oh, right.
And I think that really he's the guy to just go along with whatever the kids are doing.
He's got the energy.
He's got the energy. We would just have to make sure he didn't fight the kids.
Yeah. I feel like he can turn it off when he wants to.
Yeah, I think so too. So
when there's small children involved.
Probably. So yeah, as long as he doesn't drop kick the children, he can come and babysit the kids and that's fine.
All right, that's fair enough. I said might as well invite him, but I didn't have any thoughts past that.
Mostly, I just think it would be fun to have him over and have our kid teaching him the hot to go dance somewhere.
Yeah, he seems game for having fun. So
absolutely. We have Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand. Yeah, so he's the guy that I would tell all our other guest list people to not tell that we were having the party. And we'd all be concerned that he was going to show up anyway.
Yeah, I think that that's a really, really valid response.
Yep.
I just said no. And it's not because I have trouble separating his on ice and off ice personas, because I've heard he's very nice off ice.
He is a pretty solid dude.
I just don't think we would vibe.
No. You're right. Personality wise.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right. I think we do. I think we are like, no, we need to keep this on the down low because
he's going to show up.
He's going to show up and it's just not going to be good.
And he probably like comes with one of those like portable like Bluetooth boom boxes.
He probably does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just going to get in an argument with somebody about something.
Yeah.
Probably my best friend, Matthew Tkachuk.
It'll be funny though. Like we could sit him at the kids table and like he would be dwarfed by Rempe managing the kids.
Okay, that would be hilarious. Still not worth it.
No,
but hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd be like, "Oh, we don't have any big seats for you, but we got this little one over here."
Get him his own high chair.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last person we've got is another coach. It's Paul Maurice.
Oh, hell yeah. Paul Maurice brings the vibes. He's getting an invite. I hope he shows up. Fingers crossed on Paul Maurice showing up.
He was 100% yes for me. He's going to take all the pressure off of hosting. He's going to entertain all the other guests with stories. He'll hold court, but it won't be like annoying. Like he's not going to, people aren't going to be like, oh, that guy had to be in the middle of everything. No, everyone's going to be like, who was that guy? He was the greatest. Do you think I can get his number? Do you think he would come to my party? And I'd be like, absolutely. He loves to go to parties. Yeah, no, he is just so natural and just such a conversationalist and so witty and just, I mean, he's a star. I love him.
He's fun.
He's great.
Yep.
So he doesn't matter what kind of party it is. He's coming to all of the parties.
Yeah. And I feel like, the more he drinks, the more fun he gets, actually.
Yeah, which is not always the case.
Not the case with some of the people probably on his team or some of the people that'll be at our party.
Right. Absolutely. So I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. He keeps the vibes rolling.
Yeah. I think honestly, even if it's just him, that's a party.
Agreed.
Obviously, the problem with this whole party segment is we're going to have to throw a party.
Oh, canceled.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No. That's not our vibe.
Right. We're going to have to clean the house.
Yep.
We're going to have to cook food. What are we going to do? Like play board games or something?
I don't know what people... Jenga?
I bet Slavkovsky would be great at Pictionary, though.
Yeah. And if we brought Drysdale, I bet he's really good at like Xbox 360 or PlayStation. Not the kind of party you're going for.
Absolutely not. I'm a human adult. Yeah. No, I don't think we're party people.
All right, let's cancel these ideas.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of regulation for this week's episode of Ice is Slippery. You can find us on both Tumblr and Instagram at Ice is Slippery Pod, where I post content whenever I remember. If, like Fred, you are afraid of social media, you can also email us at iceisslipperypod@gmail.com, where we would love to hear your spicy takes or get suggestions for future games. Until next week, stay out of the penalty box.